Well, as you can imagine, it's a big win for us. It was a good game, I guess, from our end, but they played very well early. I thought they really hurt us on the boards. Had a few turnovers that were sloppy in that first half, but the difference in the game is they had 13, we had 13, so we didn't get hurt there. What hurt us is their offensive rebounding, and I thought Diabate did a hell of a job on that. And it hurts because we didn't double down on Dickinson, but that was kind of the game plan. And I guess when you don't shoot as well from three, and they've been shooting the daylights out of it the last 3 games. So it's been, this is the way the year goes, you know. They played 3 or 4 games in a row where they didn't play very well, and then they played 3 games in a row where I think they played very well. And this game, I don't know how he felt, how they played, but they didn't shoot it as well. And if the ball doesn't go in, that's a problem. I was pleased. I thought, you know, Marcus did a pretty good job till he got in foul trouble. You know, our game plan was to run. We got some open ones. I thought the worst part about our turnovers was this was a game, I think they had 4 layups, direct layups, and 1 3-point play. And so I guess our defense must have been pretty good to hold them to 37 and 15. And another key is even though they got 17 offensive rebounds, second chance points, we had 1 more than they did. So our defense stopped that too, and that was encouraging. But we have still a lot of work to do. We find ways to do some things, but I thought overall Max was phenomenal in the first half, and I thought did a very good job defensively on Brooks, who I still think is one of my favorite players. He does a lot of things, and Max did a hell of a job on him. I thought Malik's energy in that first half and things he did, shots he made, was phenomenal. And then when we got in foul trouble, I was, to be honest with you, it brought tears to my eyes to hear the crowd chanting Joey Hauser. He gave me everything he had. He rebounded the ball, even though he didn't get a lot of them. He hipped them. He did everything he could. But hitting those big threes made a difference, you know. So I thought we shot pretty well from the line. I thought we didn't defensive rebound good enough, but that's a good basketball team. That's every bit the team. That was a top 10 team. I think their best basketball is in front of them, just because they're starting to play well together and getting more. I thought we did a hell of a job on Houston, too, who's been on fire lately. So questions, I'll take them.
Tom, how key was, to your left, the ugly guy over here, how key was your depth in this game? Gabe didn't score until midway through the second half, and Max had 2 points in the second half, and you win big.
Well, it was a funny game. You know, it wasn't like we were ahead by a lot the whole game. But I think our depth is good. You know, our 4 men today had 29 points and 9 or 8 or 10 rebounds, something like that. We got a good 1-2 punch there. I swear I wouldn't do this because when I do it, it ends up disastrous. But I do got to give AJ a lot of credit. You know, he's been in with me and with Monty for 2 weeks, and I thought he really played under control. He really controlled things. Getting a double-double, getting 10 assists was a big deal for him. I thought at times Tyson played pretty well too. But, you know, tough game to be in when you haven't been in it before. And I thought the crowd, and I would like to say that, the crowd was unbelievable. It reminded me of old times and between COVID and all the other things. But the crowd was, it was fun, you know, seeing Mel over there with all his guys, see our other coaches. It was an incredible environment. But, yeah, I thought our depth did help. Both point guards, both 4 men. Jaden Akins gave us some minutes, got a couple big plays. You know, Julius Marble, I thought, did a very good job in his time in there. So, you know, we can play some guys. We're still going to get Pierre Brooks. Finally got him in a game. We're going to get him some more time. He's been playing very well in practice. So I think we'd be too deep at each position, and where I don't feel afraid to sub guys.
I feel it was like a light switch almost. You flipped it in terms of intensity, first half and second half. How pleased were you to see just basically a whole new team come out those first 4 minutes of that second half?
If those locker room walls could talk, right? I thought the end of the first half, the last 6, 7 minutes, we played with more intensity. And I don't know if intensity is right. I mean, I think we played smarter. We made some average plays, and those turnovers, you throw it to them on an outlet pass and they dunk it. You throw it to them on another one and they lay it up and get fouled. I mean, those things take a lot out of you, and I think we had 4 of them in the first half. And so, we did do a better job. We vowed that we were going to play all 20 minutes, and I thought we did. But Michigan's good. They're good. They got a good team. I thought we did a decent job on Jones, too, who's been playing well. But this game is about shots go in, shots don't go in. And today our shots went in, theirs didn't. Lately their shots have been going in, ours haven't.
I want to go back to AJ. You mentioned how earlier this week you needed him to maybe find your receivers a little bit more. And so his 10 assists that he had, but only 2, just 1 turnover. So his vision out there, and he seemed to have a little bit more composure than in other games that we've seen this year. So can you comment on maybe the composure and how you saw less mistakes?
I think the composure is the critical part. Playing off 2 feet, getting in there and spraying the ball out. He made a couple great passes. Figured out when he had a ability to slither in there and get a shot. He didn't have the charges that he's normally had. So I think he did play with a lot more composure, made a little floater. I was happy for him because it's been you ask Monty, it's been a tough week on those point guards, week and a half. I mean, we just felt like if you don't have a quarterback running your team, you can't be any good. So I took those 2 football guys, I made them explain to those guys, and I told Keon, if you get open, a quarterback doesn't get you the ball, how do you feel? He says, not running the patterns is hard, and that's kind of our analogy in basketball. And I didn't think we were spraying the ball good. I thought Max got some. We got to get Gabe more touches too. I thought he got a little frustrated, but he did bounce back and made a couple big plays. So we've got some weapons, we got some pieces, we just got to put them together.
Juwan just said that his team scratched and clawed like crazy in the first half. And in the second half, you got every loose ball, every rebound. That must be music to your ears and the ultimate compliment, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I agree with him. I mean, I thought the first half his team did. They got all the loose balls. They got all the rebounds. Mike Garland said to me after the game, Denzel was in the locker room, KT, our former guys, and like Mike Garland walked by and he said that's how we always played, And so I told Zell, would you tell these guys, what some of these things are like? But we're making progress. We're just eyelashes away from being really, really good. And as we continually knock down those turnovers, continually get a little smarter on some things, I think we have enough different weapons to throw at somebody. If they got a good center, we can throw Markey. If they got somebody else, we can go Joey and Malik. We can go a lot of different ways, and that's going to help us, I think, down the road.
Tom, when you talk about Joey, you talk about AJ, Bingham as well, like those guys that they seem to kind of get to the brink of being written off or being whatever it might be. Can you kind of describe dealing with guys in those moments and whether when it's time to ride them, when it's time to build them up, and kind of find a way to days like this?
Yeah, that's been hard. I'll be honest with you. And I've done a lot more meetings and a lot more not riding, and I don't think that's good. I mean, if a guy doesn't do what he's supposed to do, he should hear about it. And yet, between COVID and the fragileness and the screwed up country we're in right now, sorry, but as far as, I can't say nothing to anybody. We did it a little different, didn't do it in front of anybody, but we had meetings. We had a lot of meetings this week and just kind of went over film. I mean, it was driving my assistants nuts. And I think we corrected some things, and we're just going to keep. What I got good guys. I got no bad guys. I got good guys. But, getting everything out of them is there's roadkill in doing that. And but that's what it's all about, and those, unfortunately for me, I think it was Bo Schembecker, those who will stay will be champions. You know, this day and age, that's very true because everybody just thinks they should bolt. So thank God I got a bunch of guys that want to stay, but you are right. There gets to be that teetering time. AJ's been there, you know, so has Marcus. I mean, but I can tell you some really good players in the past. I mean, Morris lived there. He built a house. You know, he was just staying there, and he came back around. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that go through that, and I think that's the beauty of our program is, you know, I might get on them, but I never write them off. You know, there's very few kids I write off. I'm just going to keep pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling. And give my staff credit. I thought DJ, he did the scout, was a good job defensively on what we wanted to do, and offensively we worked on harder. We thought we'd been very poor offensively on some things, and yet we're shooting the ball good. So, yeah, that's a tough one.
Kind of a two-part question here with Malik Hall in that first half when he picked up what we thought was his second foul.
Yeah.
Did you know that there was going to be a review at some point
Hell
on that?
yes. You know, you might have thought it was. I thought it was on Jaden Akins the whole time. And yeah, you know, I think I just asked the official if he would review it.
So you didn't have any trepidation putting him back in then with two fouls at that point? Because he played with a lot of energy in that stretch, a lot with
You know,
Max.
personally, I was 99% sure. But he did play with a lot of energy, but it was at a point in time when I wouldn't have changed anybody, but I was 99% sure of the call.
And that was what he brought and what Max brought in that stretch after Michigan went up.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, Joey struggling a little bit then, and Gabe was struggling a little bit then, and my point guards were a little up and down, but those two guys, you know, did a lot then. We got them threes. We felt like we had to move their bigs around a little bit. We did a decent job. There were times we screwed up some of that too that I think we're going to be able to work on, but we did some good things that, and they did some good things. I mean, they can get the ball into him, boy, and when he's on the block, it's hard. And I'm sure, as always, you're frustrated that I didn't double, but the one time we doubled, we didn't double on him. We doubled on somebody else that we weren't supposed to double on at all, and they hit the 1-3, so that's the way it went. Yes.
Tom, about 6 minutes left. Dickinson got an and one. I think both your centers had 4 fouls at that point. They were at 11. Joey comes in, plays a couple defensive, gets a couple stops there on Dickinson. How important was that just to kind of shutting the door on them?
But Joey said to me, you know, he really couldn't handle him and struggle with, you know, who's allowed to do what. You know, displacement goes both ways. I mean, can we displace them? Can they displace us? And he said, they're not going to call it that way. I'm just going to try to front him and hip him. I said, be my guest. And he did. It was, I think, him and DJ's decision, and it was a good decision. And he still scored some, but we made it a little harder on him, forced him out a little bit farther. But, you know, it was a calculated chance. You want to give up the 3 or give up the 2. And we did what we did, but if it would have went the other way, you know, we would have probably kicked ourselves.
T-
The halftime speech, was it a player-led speech, was it a coach-led speech? What exactly led you guys to come out in that second half of that charge?
Well, I dragged Garland off a few people, if I was to be very blunt about it. When I came down the hallway, I could hear his voice, and it reminded me of Mateen in the old days, and so I kind of got that straightened out. But then I was upset with my team. You know, I just didn't think we were doing the things that we have to do, and we vowed that that's what we were going to do. So we looked at some things. We looked at some coverages that we thought we were having a little bit of trouble with. We did a couple things that were unlike us on purpose. Those were our coverages, and they were working, but we wanted to make some adjustments. So we did. It wasn't, you know, I think the beauty of a team in a rivalry game, I think they knew. I said, you know, we showed a little highlight tape before the game, and it was about all the former guys that have built the place. and what it means to them. And I said, if you want to be part of that 5 and 10 and 15 years ago, you got to do your part, because you're not part of it if you don't win these games. And so it really wasn't as crazy. I've mellowed. I told you that.
Can I go? Thank you.
Wow.
Need some order in here tonight.
The Dookie's really into it now.
Going back to Joey a little bit, I feel like it's easy sometimes to say, when does the things click, or is there a moment? And it just felt like in that second half, I know there was one point in the first half he was getting mad at you or whatever, but in that second half when he's the guy diving on the floor for the loose balls. And doing
He
all the
was
things
getting mad at me. I went down and told Zell, I said, Zell, does this look familiar? Then I saw Zell's mom in the stands. I said, does this look familiar? And then I knew we were in good shape, because familiar is a good thing here. You know, when people are getting on people, it's a good thing at our place. So, but go on.
But I feel like it was one of those moments, that wasn't about making shots or anything else. That was just about, it felt like just about saying the hell with all that and just going 100%.
Yeah. He made a couple of mental mistakes, and he very seldom makes a mental mistake, to be very honest with you. And I think, you know, my problem with Joey is he's so unselfish. He's never ready to shoot, and he's one of my best shooters, and I've told you that forever. And so maybe he was mad enough that he just said, to hell with him, I'm going to shoot. The trick of that was I was thinking good, you know. I wasn't upset about that. I was happy with it. But it wasn't his shooting that really saved the day. It was his defense. It was just diving on the floor. It was his energy level, trying to cut out. I mean, hey, their two bigs are really good. They're really good. And it's not an easy job for anybody. And I was just happy for him because, you know, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot, and he's an unbelievable kid, and guys love him, and he really pulled for guys like that. So just because I got on him, I love my son. I get on him every day.
Tom, Juwan said he thought his guys looked tired with a lot of time left. You had 27 more bench points. How important is that depth in your starting 8?
Well, I couldn't agree with Juwan more or you more. I mean, that was our game plan. We thought we had to run every time, you know, to try to get him, even into ball screens and that. We were just trying to move him around. And I think he got tired, but I give him credit. He still battled, you know, Dickinson, and he was a horse. But, yeah, we felt running them would be a big part of the game for us. And, you know, maybe they got tired. I don't know. You know, I'm not in his huddles. I had some guys that got tired too. So the emotion of the game too, you know, you just can't appreciate what that crowd does to you. You know, I'm sitting looking over at Mel, and he's got a smile through his mask about this big. And I said, this is, you know, what this place is like. It's been a weird couple of years, as we all know, but I think that helps too. Just like it'll probably help when we go down there to play. It'll probably help them.
Tom, over here. 4 days after Max Christie looked a little rattled, a little out of sorts at Illinois, he looked very smooth and comfortable in a big spot when you guys didn't have a lot going early. Can you speak to what you saw from him since Illinois to now, and what you got from him early?
Well, I'll be honest with you. That was one of the things that I changed. We decided to put him in some ball screens, put the ball in his hands a little bit more on some things, and I thought he answered the bell. You know, he still doesn't know how to make all the kickouts and that. There were a couple times. But I'll tell you, that kid's, I mean, he was in here watching film. I mean, I told you when it happened. I mean, what was he, 2 for 16, did you tell me, in the 2 losses? And, you know, I mean, he's not cocky enough to not let it bother him. What he is, he's got that perfect demeanor that he's confident in himself, but he was upset by how he played, so he did the old-fashioned thing, you know. He just came in and worked and watched a little more film, and he picks things up so fast. But he had to do it on both ends again. I don't know how many minutes he ended up playing. It had to be a lot. That's a lot of minutes to try to run the break, be our guy there, and then guard a guy like Brooks who moves better than anybody in our league. So, hats off to Max.
Bob and then Larry, and we'll close with Brad.
Tom, you mentioned a couple of times so far, seemed like old times. You mentioned the crowd, a lot of the getting on guys. They seemed like old times. That blitz to start the second half, defense, energy, diving on the floor, was that as old times-ish as you've seen with this team so far?
Well, not only this team, I think the last couple of years, but I mean, they all go hand in hand, you know, when you make a great play last year and those stupid dummies that were sitting up there, those cardboard cutouts, they didn't cheer or yell or they didn't do nothing. And so that all leads to the energy of everything. And I said that to Mike. I said, everything goes together, man. And that's the one thing that I'd like to get back here. You know, president, AD, fans, coaches, all on the same page, you know. And this is one of the more difficult places in the country to play. We haven't had that. And even a year or two before that, you know, we had issues, there were problems, and it was things. And so yeah, it felt good. It felt good from a fan standpoint. My AD was waiting at the end of the court for me at the end. Players were on the floor. I mean, it was a combination, and yet, don't slight Michigan. I mean, I'm the first to tell you what I think of everything. They're going to be, I think, their best basketball is the next 10 games, too. So they played awfully hard and maybe got a little tired, maybe. And maybe that was partly our crowd and the number of subs that we ran in on them, and we just kept running people at them.
Can you give us the latest update on the rescheduling efforts for the Michigan game?
Well, there's not a lot of times when you can redo it, and I don't know what the efforts are. KP, the Big Ten office, is involved in that, but you know, everything I hear, it's going to be late, like in March. You know, maybe it'll be like last year where we played 4 games in 7-8 days or whatever it is. You know, personally, I don't care. I just want to play all the games. You know, double headers, we'll play them, whatever.
There's a video circulating on your favorite social medium of you outside Breslin with fans at 6:30 a.m.
I think it was a little later than that, but
The game was at 12:30. I mean, what was
yeah.
that?
Well, no, we had fans there early. They gave them some hot chocolate. And a couple of my managers said, "Coach, they're freezing out there." And I went down there and I infused a little UP power in them and told them. And I said, "Hey, this isn't all that bad, man." And I got my butt right back in there in the warm weather and let them freeze to death out there, you know, and begged our people to let them in a half hour early. That's what I did. So, you know, I love the place. I love our students, and I love when the place is electric like that. I think today was a good win for Michigan State, and Michigan State means the world to me. So, next question. That's it. Well, appreciate it.